Hey guys, welcome back. What you're looking at here is some under the layout shelving I built in place. I got to thinking about it and I thought, there's an awful lot of wasted space underneath these layouts, especially when they're high up in the air like this. So I thought, I'd like to increase my storage capacity here at the house just so we can organize some things better. We've got a lot of stuff up on shelving and storage racks, but I wanted to have something to, again, utilize the space that would normally be wasted. And at this end of the layout, it's going to fit in perfectly. As you can see there, this area is open. And then you notice this plywood sheet here. And what all that is so that when things are put in from the opposite side of the layout, on the other side of that backdrop there, and you slide things in, you won't push them off of that upper shelf and let it fall to the floor. It'll, act as a stop. Down the road, obviously, this will all be painted black from the fascia, the plywood, the legs are all going to get painted a nice flat black. And eventually there'll be some nice black, like drapery, screening, some heavy felt material coming down to the floor again to kind of just cover everything. But like I said, I wanted to incorporate a lot of this storage shelving down here for household stuff. The interesting thing was, had a very, very good question posed to me by a gentleman on the OGR forum about how am I going to tackle the wiring from a standpoint of once the scenery is completed. What if I need to access the wiring to the track, to a turnout, to any type of a wiring junction, let's say? How am I going to get to it? Well, one, yes, I can fit and lay in on that shelving. However, what I'm going to be doing, and I'm just going to pan up here, and as you can see in the distance there, I'll tighten up a little bit. I started cutting out my plywood sub-road bed for the track. That is basically roughly 6 1/4, 6.5 inches in width. And pretty much all I did is I'm utilizing an old piece of 3-rail track I got here just to get the general width I wanted. Got my measurements, traced them out of my plywood, and started cutting. So those risers, that track is going to be up on risers. It's going to end up sitting about 7, 8 inches higher than what it is right now. The wiring I'm going to run, obviously, underneath the track, on the side that faces me the closest to the viewing aisle for accessibility. Now, where I have a turnout, where I have a wiring junction for any reason, what I'm going to do with that portion of the scenery, and again, that's only going to be the portion that's in front of the track facing the viewing aisle, I'm going to construct it out of rigid pink foam. Several reasons. One, it's easy to work with. Number two, it is very strong for its weight, and it does not weigh much. And again, those areas that I build out of that foam, I'm going to make it so that they're removable. So I can slide them out if I need to get in there to access. Let's say I've got a tortoise switch machine that goes bad. I got a bad wiring connection somewhere I need to attend to, or if I want to add something at a future date, I can go, okay, well, I know I've got a junction here, I've got a junction there, I can access power here, so on and so forth. Excuse me. So that's how I'm going to tackle that problem. It was a very good question, and definitely a problem a lot of modelers, I'm sure, face at times. How am I going to get into this after I do my scenery work? Well, to me, that's a good solution. Now, are there any drawbacks to doing that? Well, there's a couple. Number one, over time, that rigid pink foam, it shrinks. And it's not a huge amount, but it will shrink down. A couple of ways to solve that. Number one, the way I cover it when it's in place. How do I plant my grasses, shrubbery, bushes, that type of thing, trees, whatnot? There's ways you can obscure those joint lines to where they don't just leap out at you, and it's not like an obvious, there's a panel there. That's one way. Another way, if it even really shrinks down too much in the future, and I've worked with this before, I have seen some shrinkage, but it's nothing drastic. Especially if you cover it all after you make your cuts and everything. Cover it in a cheap latex paint. Get a batch at Home Depot. Get some, get an oops paint if you can find a brown or a black or a dark gray. That'll work fine. Get it cut into a general shape, paint it up, and that'll help with it a little bit. And you know what? Down the road, if it shrinks way too much, I'll replace the piece that shrank. It's not a big deal. And again, The foam portion is only going to be the portion that I designed to remove. So that's going to take care of that problem. Again, we've got this sub-road bed just kind of cut out loosely, laid in place. And I actually worked it out to be a bit of an oddball number. It comes out to be about a 61-inch radius, which is good. And then obviously when I come back here, I'm going to reverse the curve around the Lally column here, and then obviously head back down that way. So, but again, very good question though. Very, very good question. And like I said, I think that'll work really well because again, once I'm able to pull that stuff out, I can get to my wiring if I need to in the future to add stuff, to repair things. And again, it's only going to be the portion that faces out towards me. So I like the idea of it. Removable, lightweight, easy to work with. So that'll solve a lot of those problems. So again, that's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to handle that matter. And like I said, as you can see, I'm on the way here with, cutting out the sub-road bed and so forth. It's going to be a 61-inch down at this end, and down at the opposite end here, if I haven't talked about it before, it's probably going to work out to be somewhere between 60, 59, 60. It's going to be just slightly smaller because I want to leave ample room, obviously, in the radius in the turn. So I've got some articulated engines I'm going to be running. I need to account for boiler swing, the cab swinging out, that kind of a thing. And when I run longer passenger cars, I don't want it to look too obscene. Some of it I can hide with the scenery work, which I'm going to do. Some of it's going to be exposed, but it should work out pretty well. Also, I got a lot of the old holes filled and patched on the backdrop here, as you can see. I got that tackled yesterday, filled, sanded, repainted. And in a lot of the areas of this layout, the way I've got my scenery figured out with the hills, mountains, and so forth, the bottom third up to almost half of what you see there is going to be covered with mountains. So like I said, only the top 2/3 to the top half are going to be exposed. And at that point, in certain areas, I'm going to be covering it with backdrops from Backdrop Warehouse. Other areas, it's just going to incorporate maybe a little bit of a faint cloud effect, that kind of a thing. So it doesn't need to be perfect because it's not going to leap out at you, especially once all the scenery's in and with what I got planned. So, but I wanted to tidy it up a bit and fill in them holes and stuff. So I was able to accomplish that. And like I said, start working down here on all this stuff. So got things going. Looking forward to continuing the progress. Obviously, I'm kind of working away at it as not rushing, but as quickly as I can comfortably work at it because I want to get a bunch done before the summer months get here and the kids are out of school and that stuff. So, but there we go with that. Again, I'll be doing another video in another week or so with more updates and stuff. So if any of you guys are thinking about it, go ahead and build yourself some storage shelving underneath the layout. At the opposite end of the layout, I'm going to build storage underneath to store my trains and stuff, but it's not going to be as deep. It's not going to be the full width. It's only going to be slightly deeper than my locomotives and the width of my passenger cars, that kind of a thing, because it just doesn't need to go that far underneath it. So, but I'm going to be doing that on the opposite end and trying to incorporate as much as I can, because otherwise, like I said, it's just wasted space. And with 90% of this layout having track work that's going to be up on risers, I'm going to be able to put my wiring right there, right under the track, hanging off wire hangers on those risers. So I'll be able to access it very easily, standing, sitting on a stool, whatever. And where I need to get to those junctions, like I said, all the way around the entire layout, I'm just going to build it out of foam, make it a removable piece. And like I said, that way it'll let me get to all those junctions. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I explained everything okay. Kind of going about 90 miles an hour with the plans in my mind here, so I'm not trying to hopefully skip over anything I'm doing or explain it too poorly. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a week or so.